Okay, we are live and recording.
All right, I'm going to start the webinar, folks. All right, Mr. Delker, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, and welcome everyone to the September 2nd workshop meeting of Northwestern Lehigh School District. Please join me in opening exercises. We'll pledge the flag followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Mrs. Partinio, will you please call the roll?
John Cassiano, Willard Delaker,
Here.
Joseph Fatzinger, Todd Hernandez,
Here.
Todd Leiser,
Here.
Alan Rex,
Here.
Rachel Scheffler, here, James Warfel.
Here.
Thank you. And we have the approval of the agenda next on the agenda. And I would like to ask that under operations, we have a short update of how school startup went from Mrs. Holman. And that's the only addition to the agenda. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Rex.
Motion by Mr. Rex,
Second, Leiser.
second by Mr. Leiser. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. We have an agenda. Welcome again to all who are in attendance. And at this time, we offer courtesy the floor for anyone who has joined us this evening and would like to address the board. Please raise your hand and Dr. Sosnovic will cue you into the meeting.
I do not see anyone raising their hand at this time.
Okay, there'll be another opportunity for addressing the board at the end of the meeting. And with that, we'll move into the first item on the agenda is under curriculum and building issues is special education COVID-19 mitigation equity grant. Mrs. Holman.
I will actually ask Mrs. Frisbee to address that one.
Yep, so this is a grant opportunity. The Governor Wolf has allocated some of the governor's emergency education relief funds to what they're calling the equity grant for special education COVID-19 mitigation. So we don't have a lot of information on this. The grant application just opened yesterday. So working with Andrea and Leanne to get that grant opened up and that process rolling. What we know as of right now is that the grant, the award amount that we are allotted is $5,103. We are waiting for some more specific details as to the uses. However, we do believe that it will be partially related to using for compensatory services for students with disabilities and some other enhanced synchronous instruction and advancements to help students with special needs. So as we receive more information about this grant, we will put our grant application together. And it's my understanding that we have until October 9th to submit that. So we are asking for board approval to apply for those funds.
Okay, we can wait till the 16th to take action on this. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we're fine waiting until the 16th. We just wanted to let you know that as long as the board was okay with it, we were going to start working on that grant application.
Okay, I'm sure that any objections to applying for a grant? Seeing none, go for it. Thank you, Leslie. Next is the mandatory training pay for substitute teachers.
Mrs. Matico, do you want to address this one?
I will, yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you. Yes, this is a change in how we pay our substitutes. Our substitutes are required to participate in mandatory COVID training. Currently, we pay our substitutes either half day or full day. So this change would allow us to pay a flat rate of $20 when they complete the COVID training.
Okay, so this is a $20 stipend for the training as opposed to half a day of substitute pay or something like that?
That's correct, and as opposed to the half a day. The training's a little bit over an hour.
Okay. And we can wait until September 16th?
We can, yes, we can. The substitutes are completing the training right now, so we have payroll practices in place when this is approved on the 16th.
Any comments or questions about that from the board? Okay, moving on. Next item is under policy, and I believe the second reading is the only thing under policy that we have to address this evening.
That's right, Mr. Delacour, and we have not received any feedback on that second reading.
Okay. Anything from the board on that policy about live stream videos? Seen a lot of that lately. Okay, then we'll take action on that on the 16th. Next item is under operations, and here's the point where I would ask Mrs. Holman if we could hear a little bit about how we managed to get rolling again for our school year, and talk about all the smiles you saw.
Certainly, Mr. Delacour. So certainly we started school on Monday with our cohort A that was here on Monday and Tuesday. Today was the first day in person for our cohort B students. I visited, as did Dr. Sisnovic, many of our school buildings and many of our teachers and many of our students, lots and lots of smiles, despite the fact that, they were under masks. We teased and said that they could certainly, see that they were smiling. They were all thrilled to be back in school. Even some of our middle school and high school students who sometimes aren't the most eager to come to school or get up early in the morning. We're certainly eager to be back in school and happy to be here. Our staff, as usual, are doing a great job. Everyone from, and I know Mr. Oakes is on, so if he'd like to comment from our cleaning practice perspective, transportation, we couldn't have asked for a smoother start despite having very little time to turn that around. Our principals did an amazing job with the schedules, with the cohorts. Our teachers, as usual, did an amazing job and continue to do an amazing job with balancing students in person and students online. And, certainly that's a delicate balance to try to manage both groups and plan for both groups. And so that they've done a great job. Our cleaning crew, who cleans obviously every evening, but certainly has done the upkeep throughout the day, and our transportation buses and things rolling in. So I would say we are in day 3. They're all still really happy to be here. And so that's a good thing to do on day 3. We do finish up day 4 tomorrow. This and next week are 2 of the odd weeks that have a holiday at the end of this week and the beginning of next week. And so we gave each cohort 2 days to try to balance them. And so there really aren't any Wednesday asynchronous days in the first 2 weeks. And so our cohort B kids will be back tomorrow, as well as our cohort A students being online. I think, we worked out some of the kinks in terms of technology and access to curriculum, students picking up materials, rolling out, devices and hotspots, and students, at least up until now, are continuing to switch their instructional options. And so we're balancing through all of that. We've had very good attendance in all of our buildings. And so we're really pleased with as smooth as it has gone. Certainly our families and parents have been very, very cooperative, very, very patient with everything, knowing that it is something new. We did have a number of parent drop-offs, not quite as many as we originally anticipated at the elementaries, but for the most part, everybody has really pulled in the same direction. I kind of sent an email after day 1. I can tell you everyone was exhausted after day 1. Every single person that works here was exhausted after day 1. And so I sent an email and went, okay, 1 day, you guys did a great job. Thank you for pulling all in the same direction. So certainly I will take any questions if anyone has them, or if Mr. Oakes who I believe is on, would like to add anything from his operational perspective.
I'll just add on to what Ms. Holman talked about, that the cleaning, although it's more intensive and it's a lot more stops, I'll say, in the high touch areas. It's very similar to what we do during the flu season anyway. So it's been an easy transition for our staff. But the students have been great with wearing their mask and being diligent about that. And that's what keeps us safe. So the faculty and staff, and the students following what they need to do, it's just been really, really helpful.
Yeah, I didn't get numbers today. I did hear out of Monday, Tuesday, we really had a lot of cooperation from students. I think 100% of our students and staff showed up with masks, and there really was not an issue. I think the same thing happened today. And so hopefully I think that continuing as well as, riding on the school buses and following the precautions and the hand sanitizer and the increase in hand washing will hopefully be what we need to do to keep all of us safe for as long as we can.
Jennifer, for the cohort that was in-person attendance in the last couple of days, do you have any feel for the percentage of those who did come in person or who stayed at home to watch?
They've switched around several times. So last I looked was prior to them starting. We had at best case scenario in terms of the most students, one of our buildings had 30% choose online and 70% in person. But one of our buildings at the other end in terms of percentage was 85-15. I didn't look since all of them have switched. So I can certainly get that data for the board, because throughout this week, I would say more students have switched from online to back in person. There have been a couple switches the reverse way, but for the most part, the switches that we've seen have been from selecting online to selecting to come back in person. And so I'd have to get you updated percentages that I would want to be accurate, but I can get those for you.
Okay, maybe by the next meeting, we'll have more info.
Yeah, and Mr. Delegar, just as well for Ms. Holman, we've been adding daily probably 10, 15 students back into transportation that have changed their mind and are back on the school bus. So we're up to almost 100 that added back into transportation.
Thank you. That's helpful, because they're probably about the same number of kids that would have switched then. So you probably have a better handle on that district-wide.
Good. Well, I had the opportunity to watch the streaming of our first hockey game tonight, which the girls won. It's a little bit different than sitting in the bleachers, but at least we could see it and they could play. That was the big thing.
Yep. I think Mr. Zimmerman might have an update on, we're going to give a little bit of an update later on our health and safety plan. Just to give you an update on that, I will tell you that we did some updates to both the face coverings as well as the transportation, as we discussed in the last meeting. Did send that out to staff at the very beginning of the week so that they had that in their hands. Mr. Zimmerman is also doing the same thing for the health and safety plan. And as soon as he has that finalized with the recent update today, and has worked through the details of spectators to some degree. I think he needs some time to work through that. He can certainly add on to this if he likes. Then we will also get out to our coaches and our athletes an updated health and safety plan, incorporating all of the most recent changes. I don't know, Jason, if you'd like to add to that, you certainly can, but you don't have to.
Yes, if now's the appropriate time. Yeah, I literally, I think Mr. Hernandez will vouch. I literally send on the Connect Ed message to field hockey families with the live stream link, and my phone was blowing up with the governor's announcement. I'm going to send something out very, very soon, hopefully either tonight or tomorrow morning, basically acknowledging that we have the governor's information. I just need some time to implement our plan. The plan's pretty solid. We have a Colonial League meeting tomorrow morning. At 8 o'clock in the morning, just to make sure we're all consistent and on the same page with this. And it's some good news, but it's going to be interesting to manage. But we'll make sure we take care of it. And I talked to Art literally 15 minutes ago to make sure we have our stadium set up to designate the social distancing markings on the bleachers and such. So that's about it. Again, very exciting, but it's been a whirlwind, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is one more example. When Jason said he needs some time, this has sort of been the mantra all along. We don't get any notification. In fact, I heard from one of you before I heard the official announcement, so I shouldn't be surprised. Jason might have heard a minute before that, and so I think give him some time, and we'll figure out what this looks like. I equally responded to a parent about spectators this morning and pulled the information off the very same site that was updated with quotes that are no longer there this afternoon. Dr. Sosnovic messaged me. He does have some updates for Mr. Delacour about the splits he just pulled. So Dr. Sosnovic, you want to share those?
I ran a report while the rest were sharing, and just preliminary looking at hybrid, we have about 76% of our student body in Northwest Elementary, 78% in high school, 79% in middle school, and 82% of those populations are in a hybrid model. The balance is then split up between Digital Academy and online with a Northwestern teacher. And I did not yet do those percent calculations, but we can give you a full report for sure. But I wanted to give you an updated number as quickly as possible. We have approximately 3/4 to 80% of our population is in hybrid right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, Mrs. Holman, can you comment about, I've been wondering about how things are going at LCTI?
LCTI is one day behind us. So LCTI did not start school the same day we did. They are on a hybrid schedule. Just like we did. I think that they had some growing pains in terms of trying to, manage the group of students. Career and technical is not the easiest thing to do in an online setting. And so I think they were trying to figure out the blend of how do they meet the students' needs that are at home and doing some kind of career technical online that is valuable and authentic, but yet is not dangerous, where they're asking kids to go pick up heavy machinery tools or anything on their own, and trying to make that experience valuable, but also trying to make sure that the students in person, we are sending students down. Mr. Oakes and I actually talked about it today in terms of busing and sending the students down. I'm not sure every school district in Lehigh County is. Most of them are, even though those in virtual are sending their students to LCTI. But Dr. Warfel, they just started yesterday. So they actually are only on their second day in. They didn't start the first day of school.
Okay, so they are going down the 2 days based on our schedule, correct?
Yes, the schedule, the reason we selected the Wednesday, because originally we were actually planning on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, is to align with the county. And so just like we do with our original calendar, an attempt to align with the county, we did align the Wednesdays. I will tell you, like a day like yesterday for Mrs. Yadish, on a day where we fluctuate from the schedule, meaning I said earlier in the conversation that we chose to do, as did many other districts, Monday, Tuesday, and then do the other group Wednesday, Thursday. Those schedule abnormalities throw a kink in. I think Aileen right now has going, 6 or 7 different schedules, several of which are LCTI, LCTI AM, LCTI PM, LCTI all day, LCTI when Wednesday's not in session, LCTI when Wednesday's in session. And so she has worked through the variety of different schedules, from college schedules to aligning times to lunch schedules. She's got a lot of in and out, which on an ordinary day is great to see our kids go all these different places, but it certainly has caused none of which I don't think she's been unable to resolve, but some of which she has had to take a day or so to resolve. LCTI is one of those things that, like even yesterday, she did a separate schedule for the kiddos yesterday, who we were in session on Wednesday, but their Wednesday was completely online. And so I think when we have a week or so under our belt, we'll be confident that we have thought of all the abnormalities. But I'll tell you, this week we worked through some of those things. And Mrs. Yadish has done a commendable job, especially considering she's without an assistant. I know Jason is on and has pinch hitted in a variety of different ancillary roles for her. But LCTI is up and running. They are doing a hybrid schedule, very much like us. They have been doing that from the beginning. Mr. Rex, I don't know if you have anything to add to LCTI?
No, I pretty much covered exactly what they were going to do. Yes. So, but it is a challenge, like you said. So,
Yeah, and from LCITI's perspective, we really try to work with them because they equally have 9 school districts with 9 different schedules, with 9 different times and expectations that they're trying to work with. And so we try to conform to a schedule as much as we can because we know that the time at LCTI benefits our kids that attend there.
correct, yeah.
The other population of concern, of course, is our special needs students, particularly those who have the more involved challenges. Not for tonight, but perhaps at the next meeting, we could get a little update about how well we've been able to meet those acute and differentiated kind of challenges and how well IEP implementation. It may be a little more involved conversation, but certainly in the long term, it's a topic that may become of concern to the board. So perhaps Mrs. Edmonds could address it at the next meeting.
Certainly, I can ask her to do that. I know that I don't want to address it now because I will tell you one of the things that they're doing is currently meeting with students and IEPs and collecting data to determine really what's best on an individual student basis. And so I'm not even sure she has all of that information today. Because I think some of what the data she's collecting or her teams are collecting have a lot to do with, the spring and the summer and then coming into fall. And so I'm sure potentially at the board meeting, she might have a better update for what that looks like for students, because we also, the same split of that Dr. Sosnovic mentioned in terms of Digital Academy online and in person, we also have special education students and families who chose all of those options. And so it's not just planning for students that are in person, it's planning for students that selected 100% online and how to meet their needs and deliver the specially designed instruction in that instructional model, as well as students who chose Digital Academy. And so it looks a little bit different in each of those places, I would say, but I will ask her to be prepared to provide the board with an update at the 16th, the meeting on the 16th.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions before we move on to finance? Thank you for that update, off the cuff, ad lib. Thank you for that information. It's important to us. And under finance, the first item is an overnight band trip to Disneyland Park. Is that going to be you, Leslie?
Sure, I can take that one. This is an item that we've had and we keep pushing off and carrying on, pushing into the next agenda, not knowing kind of the status of this. So we discussed putting it on the agenda and really leaving it open as dates to be determined at this point. I think Mr. Zimmerman and his staff want to have the flexibility to start planning and fundraising and doing what they need to do to plan. However, at this point, we don't have an official date or even if the trip will happen. So we were looking for board approval to see if we can make this work and, it's safe for the kids to go if the board would approve that overnight trip per our policy. Jason, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
He just gave a thumbs up, so I assume that means he doesn't need to add anything.
I'm sorry, I was being lazy. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm multitasking, rescheduling games in the system. I'm sorry. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll move on to the next agenda item, which are the reports. You'll see here the reports for the month of July. Just quickly going through the recap. So we saw real estate collections were slightly slowed compared to prior years for the month of July. However, although it's not included on this report, month of August, we did see a strong collection like we've seen in the past. Mortgage companies appear to have all been paying as of that August date and did not defer the discount period through September. So that was one of the big questions we had with tax collection. So we are showing behind in real estate tax collections for the month of July. However, it has picked back up and we are on pace as we go into September here now. Real estate transfer taxes are slowed down. Delinquent tax revenue has been pretty strong this month. However, it was slow the last several months. So I think as Portnoy starts to pick back up on their collections, we'll see some of that money being deferred from what would have been last year's collections to this year. The safety and security grants, we received that funding, which actually related to last year's police officer grant. Other than that, just want to point out that July looks a little bit different in terms of expenditures. Salaries, you will only show on those reports the month-to-date expenditures associated with 12-month employees. Any payroll associated with 10-month employees, so our teachers that get paid over the summer, the system automatically accrues back and puts back into the 19-20 fiscal year. So that's why those payroll and benefit costs look slightly lower from a cash basis. It's not that we aren't paying, it's just that it's being recorded back to the prior fiscal year. Other than that, a pretty routine summer as we head into the start of school and the fall.
Okay, any questions for Mrs. Frisbee about the reports before we move on? Things are falling into place. Thank you.
They are.
I just want to note too that John Cassiano has joined us. He joined us during the operations discussion of the startup. Mrs. Partinio, if you just want to note that for the minute.
Is that Mr. Cassiano on his phone, Mr. Delaker?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I just got a text that he's listening in and signed in.
Okay. I gave him the permission to unmute his mic at any point he wants to say something to the board.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for the reports, Mrs. Frisbee, and we'll move into old business. And the first item on there is the procedure that we will use to fill the board vacancy. Mrs. Holman, is that
Yes.
something you and Jessica will discuss?
It is, but you actually missed, Mrs. Frisbee has an update under financial updates not requiring board action about the fuel bid, Leslie.
Yep. So this is an item, it feels like it's really early to be talking about the 21-22 budget year. However, this is the time of year that we need to commit to CSIU 16 if we wish to participate in their fuel bid. This stage of the game is just a commitment to participate. We don't have to commit quantities. As you recall, for the current 2021 school year, we ended up modifying our bid due to COVID. And so we reduced the bid quantities that we committed to with CSIU, and then we'll look to do our own bid in the winter. So at this point, we certainly don't know what 2021 will look like. So we are recommending to proceed with participation in the 21-22 school year bid for fuel. So that would be diesel and heating oil. We do need to give authorization to CSIU within the next few days.
Okay, do you need a nod from the board to do that?
Yep, I just like a nod. We don't need official action. I just need to know if we can commit to that.
Any objections to the process that Leslie just described? Then we'll participate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, can we go into old business?
Certainly, yes. Mrs. Moyer and Attorney Moyer and I have spoken about the board vacancy. I do have her here in case there's any questions I'm not able to answer. My understanding of the fulfilling of the board vacancy is as follows. We would discuss it this evening to make sure the board is aware of the process. The board would accept Ms. Pazinski's resignation at the September 16th board meeting, which is your official action meeting. We do have an advertisement that was prepped by King Spry's office that would go into the newspaper that I currently have that fills the vacancy. The individual will serve until December 6th, 2021. We would advertise that in the newspaper beginning on September 17th. The advertisement would accept resumes and letters of application until September 30th at 4 p.m., which at that point the board would receive the resumes and the letters of the applications and would set up interviews for the applicants on October 7th. October 7th is the same evening as our board meeting. It has to be at October 7th because it must be filled within 30 days of the acceptance of the resignation. And so right now I would like to ask if you would hold, if you agree with this process, October 7th from about 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. I don't know how many applicants we'll have. That you would hold for time to interview, and on October 7th at 7 p.m., which is your regularly scheduled workshop meeting, you would do the appointment of the board member that you desire to appoint. I did talk to Attorney Moyer earlier today, and she can be available, or someone from her firm can be available to swear in the candidate the evening of October 7th if that process is the board's desire. I do I did forward to Mr. Delaker earlier this month a set of questions that we have previously used. I need some direction of, do you want me to refine these? Do you want me to send them out to the whole board? And are you agreeable with the process? So accepting the resignation September 16th, advertising beginning September 17th, accepting resumes until September 30th at 4 p.m., interviewing and appointing on October 7th. Jessica, did I miss anything?
You did not, Mrs. Holman. Just for the board's information, the school code requires an appointment within 30 days. You do not have to appoint within 30 days, but if we are outside that window and there are more, 10 or more resident taxpayers who get together and file a petition with the Court of Common Pleas, they can ask the court to appoint someone to fill the vacancy. And at that point of time, it is out of your hands. So that's why we recommend that you do it within the 30 days. Just for everyone's information, the interview, any deliberations with regard to the potential candidates all have to be done in public. And as Mrs. Holman said, the vote has to occur at a public meeting. Want to make sure that the individual is qualified. They can't hold an incompatible office as a township supervisor, a tax collector. There's an entire list in the school code, an employee of the district. So I think that is pretty much about it.
So we will be having the interviews and choosing to appoint a person the same evening. I thought that would be sufficient for the board, since coming into those interviews, we will have the letters and the resumes from the applicants that we can review ahead of time, and the in-person interviews can be held, and then we'll take a vote to nominate who we'd like to have fill that position.
The notice right now, unless you wanted to say something else, said the letter of application must include the applicant's address, telephone number, current resume, and a statement of reasons why the applicant desires to serve as a school director.
Jen, will this be posted on the website as well?
We certainly can, but we must post it in the newspaper of the circulation that is most widely circulated. So we can put it on the website, but we must advertise it in the newspaper. That's certainly the board's decision if they want it on the website or not.
Just asking so that, I mean, I shared this with Mr. Delaker that I spoke with somebody this week who is interested. So I just want to be able to pass along where that information can be obtained if outside a newspaper.
No problem. We certainly can put it on if that's where the board would like it, in addition to the newspaper.
And if any of you know a good recruit, go ahead and talk them into applying.
Does the board agree with the process and the timeline that I outlined? Do you all have October 7th from 5 to 7 available to do interviews and deliberation directly prior? Because that also needs to be in the notice, since it is a public meeting that it wasn't formally advertised as such. So that's all in the notice that we will have to put in the newspaper.
I'm good.
That works.
I'm good with everything. One question, Jen, if you're going to put it up on the website, where would it be found? Sometimes searching for things is a little difficult. If I were to refer somebody to the website, under what heading would they look for the information?
Would you like it in a news item?
Under school board, we could put it under a news item. The problem with news item, Janine, is sometimes it gets bumped off by something else. I mean, we could put it under school board. I could certainly, wherever we do put it, Dr. Werfel, I could share the link with you. That's probably the easiest, so that if someone does inquire, you have the direct link.
All right.
That's probably easiest.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Right now, the advertisement says that the connection and information will be at nwlehighsd.org/school board. So it makes sense, I suppose, to put the information on our school board site, which I think Dr. Sosnovic is bringing up right now. Does anybody else have any additional information that you would like us to ask the applicants to send in that you would like to review? Address, phone number, current resume, and statements of the reasons why the applicant desires to serve as a school board member is what it says. And this would be an appointment to serve the remainder of Ms. Pazinski's term, which, as I said, will serve until December 6th, 2021.
Any objections to what you've heard? I don't see any, so let's go ahead with that plan then.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the next item under old business is select nomination of a board treasurer. And I believe that we will do, should we do that tonight or do we do that on the 16th because it's an action item?
Well, I think you need to do it tonight because I think we need to know who we're putting on for approval. Leslie and I talked a little bit because that evening you're actually going to approve checks and payments and things. I think the treasurer also needs to get the stamp and get the signature. We don't have to do the approval tonight, but you certainly should figure out who the nomination is for. Leslie, am I correct on that?
Yeah, just as a reminder for the treasurer position, we'll need new nameplates for the checks. So we'll just have to coordinate that with getting signatures and changing those for the bank. But also the treasurer position does require a background check from the insurance company, or not background, a credit check rather, to be bonded. So those were just two things that I didn't mention last time, but I know we've talked about prior.
Mr. Delacour, you're muted.
Attorney Moyer, if it's all right for us to take action to appoint this evening in a workshop session, is that appropriate?
I would not, because this was not advertised as a voting meeting, correct, Jen? It's just a workshop?
No, they were all, that's a complicated answer, but yes, when we went in March, we advertised all future meetings could be action meetings just because we weren't really sure of anticipated. So when we put the advertisement in the paper in March that everything would go online and virtual, we said that every meeting from this point forward could be an action meeting. So that's your call. I think the question is,
okay.
Since Marcy's resignation is officially September 2nd, we won't take action till the 16th. Is it okay that they don't take action to appoint a treasurer until the same evening they are essentially going to approve things with that person's name on it?
No, I think you can do it. You need a treasurer. And you need to get the ball rolling. So I think that that's fine to do that tonight if you wish.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Mr. Hernandez, I think we have two people who are interested in the treasurer position. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. That's what I was informed of.
And those two people are Todd Leiser and Rachel Scheffler.
Correct.
Okay, so board, the people who have stepped forward and volunteered to assume the treasury position are Todd Leiser and Rachel. And in order to appoint a treasurer, we will nominate a person with a second and then vote. And if there's a majority vote for that person, that will be our new treasurer. Is that correct, Ms. Attorney Moyer? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Delacour.
So I don't know we can either go alphabetically or by seniority. So they're both the same. So let's take Mr. Leiser first. And I would open the floor to nomination, followed by a second.
I'd make a nomination for Todd. I think his longevity on the board and the interest and expertise he has shown in the financial issues speaks well for him to be in that position. Nothing personal to anybody else, but that's just a logical reason for a nomination for Todd.
Okay, there's a nomination on the floor for Todd Leiser. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Todd Hernandez. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please, Mrs. Portinio?
Sure. John Cassiano? Oh, can Can you speak?
You should be able to. I just asked him to unmute. So. He just unmuted.
Yes,
Give him a second.
Aye for Todd.
Lord Delacour,
Yes.
Todd Hernandez,
Yes.
Todd Leiser,
I guess I'll vote for myself, yes.
Alan Rex,
Nay.
Rachel Scheffler,
Nay.
James Warfel.
Yes.
I think the vote is for 7 people would be 5-2. Is that what I got for Mr. Leiser?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. And Todd, looks like you'll be our treasurer for the next year. And just for a little historical context, boards in the past in filling these positions used the seniority rule as if there were more than one people interested in a position for the senior person on the board to fill that slot. So thank you very much, Rachel and Todd, both of you, for volunteering for this position, and congratulations, Todd.
Thank you. And with my revised work schedule, I should be able to be in attendance for future meetings. So appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Any comments before we leave this topic?
Just, Todd, my office will be in touch with you regarding the signatures and all the paperwork for the bonding.
Sounds good.
Okay, is there any other old business from any board member? Then let's go to new business, and under new business, we have PSBA officer elections. I think if you read over that, that's an electronic voting procedure that we will have to do on our own time. Is that correct, Mrs. Holman?
I believe so, and I'm actually going to defer to Mrs. Partenio because she actually looked at the nomination forms. There is a due date by October 11th. Janine, do you want them to fill that out and just get it back to you?
I believe it says that they need to vote by majority which candidate that they want to.
Oh, you're right. It does say that.
To vote for, and then the vote gets submitted electronically by the secretary.
Yeah, that's the way we voted at LCTI as a group.
Thank you, Janine. So do you wish to vote this evening, or do you want us to put it on? Do you want to review this information and you put it on September 16th for your majority vote? And then John Cassiano probably got an email with the access code, John. So if you did get
Yes, I did.
Okay, could you send it to
I
us
did.
or send it to Janine so she
Yes.
can log the ballot on your behalf?
I could do that.
All right, thank you. Do you want to look these over and give us the names of who you want to vote for, and we'll put them on?
I guess we could do, would it be satisfactory to send an email to Mrs. Portinio with our vote that she could tally? Or does that have to be a public vote? You're muted, Jen.
Sorry, I flipped over to board docs to read it. I think you could do that, but I think on the 16th, you actually have to vote for who you selected. So if you could all let Mrs. Partinio know your individual choices, we can put that on the 16th and bring it back for your official vote. I was just looking at the candidates because there's usually not, sometimes there's only more than one in certain categories is what I was looking for.
Yeah, there are not many on there. And I think the president is Parkland. I think would be good to have from our neighborhood representing PSBA.
So if you
Okay,
want
so-
to look that over and let Mrs. Pertinio know, then we will put the actual names of the slate of candidates up for your approval at September 16th.
All right, let's do that. We'll use it as information this evening. We'll take action on the 16th. So look it over and come prepared to vote for the candidates for PSBA. Okay. Any que-
No, I'm sorry. I don't know if I zoned out or not. Are we supposed to send something to Janine or not?
Yes, I would like you, if you could look it over, just so we know who you would like on the board agenda on the 16th. So if you open that first document, it has the slate of candidates with a short biography or description.
Right.
So there's a president. If you could let her know, especially on the ones that obviously have more than one candidate selection. So like you look at vice president, there is at least two. There are two. The section advisors appear to all be singles. The trustees, there are two, and you select two. The steering committee, you select two. So it looks like it would just be your preference of vice president. Janine, am I right on that? That's what it looks like.
I believe so.
So if you could let Janine know if you have a preference of the vice president, and other than any other objections, we will bring you back the slate that is on there with whichever vice president candidate you select. There is a candidate from Franklin Area School District and a candidate from Northgate School District, both with their biography and statement on the agenda.
Okay, we'll do that on the 16th.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions before we leave this topic? All right, the next item is 7.02 PSBA voting delegates.
So this year's conference will be virtual. This is typically the PSBA conference that they ask for 2 delegates from Northwestern Lehigh to vote on our behalf. So this year's conference, my understanding, is virtual. Do any of you wish to participate and vote in the delegate assembly on Northwestern Lehigh's behalf?
I think John and Joe did this last year. You willing to do that again, John? Hello, John.
That means yes.
Was that a yes?
Yes. Sorry about that. I was trying to, I'm toggling with my phone. I apologize.
So we'll
Yeah.
put John down and we'll put Joe down with him because they're a good team.
Okay.
All right. And that's what happens when you don't attend a meeting. Okay. Any objections to that before we move on? I don't see any. So we come again to courtesy of the floor in our meeting. Anyone present who would like to address the board, please raise your hand so Dr. Sosnobi can cue you into the meeting. Do you see anybody out there?
No, sir. Well, one person, I'll give him 1 second.
Okay.
I do not see that person raising their hand.
Okay. Then we will move on to adjournment, but we do have an executive session immediately following this meeting. And are we going to log out and come and return with a new login?
Yes, sir. As soon as I end this meeting, I'm going to start a new one and I will send everyone the updated link.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion, Rex.
Motion by Mr. Rex, second by,
My Lizer.
Second.
looks like Mr. Cassiano. So meeting adjourned.
Troy, will you send with a number, a phone number I can call in?
Yeah, you know what? Hold on. Let me just make sure I think I have your cell because I could text it to you. I do. I'll text you the number, John.
Thank you.
Yep, no worries.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.